I'll start recording. Okay, we are back. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are and what time you're watching this. I'm so excited. I've got another change maker, can-do influencer who's been changing lives in terms of what she's doing. I can't wait for you to learn the journey of Maini Homer, and she's joining me from Brisbane. I'm in Melbourne, so I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining me, Maini. How are you?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
And tell me if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, because you know, my mother tongue is not English.
Yes, it's just Maini, just
Maini.
Yeah, that's cool. But you know, I'm so used to people getting it wrong after so many years. I answer to whatever. It's no problem.
Okay, Maini sounds good. Maini sounds good. So Maini, thank you so much again. We were discussing before we started this that, you know, I just want to bring inspiring stories to inspire others who are having it tough at the moment and feels like, you know, what can I do with my life? And there's so many people out there doing inspiring stories. And when they started, you might just think like, what am I doing here? I can also start something similar. I can do, you know, just juggle my life around and not getting so much depressed and everything. So that's the idea about the Can Do Change Makers interview series. So to begin with, for those people that don't know you, how can you describe yourself? Who's Maini?
Okay, well, on one side, I'm a kind of person, I never give up, I never quit. I keep pushing through. Please do understand there are days when I sit in the corner and I rock back and forward for a while, but I always pick myself up. I always get back up. So I've been in business 25 years. I've created 15 successful businesses from scratch. I currently run 3 successful businesses now, both in partnerships and on my own. And so I'm just a goer. I just keep going no matter what. It's like, yeah.
So you said that you've started 3 businesses. Tell me like the first one and what inspired you? What has been your career journey?
Well, as I said, I've created 15 businesses. Did you want to know about the 3 I've got currently, or?
Oh, all of them. I thought you said 3. All of them.
Yeah.
First one, let's go.
I've been doing this for like 25 years. So I think I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. It's something that's always been a part of me. I mean, even when I was a kid, I was always conjuring up some idea and some plan. And I know that I got that from my father. He had it as well. The difference was that he didn't have the confidence or the certainty in himself to push himself forward. And I didn't for a long time, even though I still did it and that I was successful. You know, most of it, or some of it was sheer luck, to be honest with you, because I didn't have the confidence, I didn't have the certainty. Because how does a parent teach you those skills when they don't have them themselves? Do you know what I mean? It's like it's an impossible thing to ask somebody to, you know, provide you, you know, to give you those skills when they don't know how themselves. And so I think I got the entrepreneurial spirit from my dad, but he tried a few things, but he was never successful. So I guess that's pretty much where it started. And I guess life just happens, doesn't it, really? I mean, so my first business, my first serious business was when I was about 24. I had a really, you know, good job. I was working for the government department. So I could have stayed in that job, you know, for the rest of my life and retired nicely at 65 with my gold watch and just, you know.
Yeah.
But we bought a franchise, and it was a commercial cleaning franchise is where we started. This was with my first husband. And, you know, we were doing hours. Like we would start at 1 a.m. in the morning, and we would clean until 6 a.m. and come home and eat and then shower and go to our day jobs and work a full-time job, get home at 5, eat, go to bed at 6 and sleep until 1. And that was our process, you know, 7 days a week. So, you know, we were prepared to put the hours in that we needed to put in to be, you know, successful. I would take a day off my day job because it was so secure. I could just get away with it once a fortnight or so, and I would go prospecting to build the business. And so I actually, we started off with a guaranteed income of $2,000 a month, and this is 97. So that was quite, you know,
a lot of money.
Good work it back then, yes. And I built it up to $8,000 a month within 3 or 4 months because I was out prospecting and, you know, building. My goal was different to my first husband's, unfortunately. My goal was to stop doing the cleaning myself and just manage the cleaners.
Yeah. To have some employees. Yeah.
He didn't see the vision of that, and he was just a worker. And so eventually I gave up my my full-time job because I had enough income coming in, and we just did the cleaning, which was great. However, that business fell over when my marriage split up. I actually lost that business within 24 hours. Would you believe? I lost it in 48 hours to be exact. So here's where I found myself. My marriage ended. My husband decided that he would leave that day. So he just basically packed his bags and he left. And when he left, he took the car, promising just to take his stuff to his brothers and then bring the car back so that, you know, that I had the car to do the cleaning. But he never came back with the car. And so here I was left with all of these like keys for bars and clubs and restaurants and medical facilities all in the middle of Brisbane. And I was a 24-year-old girl on my own, expected to go into the middle of the night and clean these bars and men's bathrooms and you name it, all by myself without a vehicle. It just was impossible. And one of the rules with the franchise we purchased was that if you couldn't, you know, maintain your clients after 48 hours, you lost them. And so 48 hours later, there was a knock on the door and it was like, you know, keys, please. That's it. And I had no choice but to, you know, give them the keys and walk away, you know. So it was like, yeah, so that was my first business. That's where it started. I ended up having to go back to regular employment for a while, obviously just until I could get back on my feet. But I actually moved to New Zealand that day. I moved to another country, didn't know anybody. That's another story. No, I'll share it with you if you're happy for me to do that, because it is important to understand where
it is important. Yes, please go for it. But I'm just saying, like, you know, so you lose everything, but listening from where we started, that you built all these businesses and you didn't give up. You didn't give up.
No, I didn't know. So just a wee backstory as to why I moved to New Zealand. And this is actually important because this was the first major turn in my life. So in the space of 12 months, so you understand, like my father passed away suddenly. My family kicked me out. They disowned me. That's my mother and my sisters. They disowned me completely. My first husband walked out on me. It seemed like every friend I had in the world deserted me. There was one person that made a difference in my life, but he lived on the other side of the world in Canada. And obviously that was a no-go zone, pretty much. Not only that, he was also very married, so that didn't terribly, you know, serve either. And so I found myself with absolutely nothing and absolutely no one. And in my mind at the time, being 24 and not really having my confidence or my certainty or any of that, I decided that I needed to get away. So I up and moved to New Zealand all by myself. The problem was I took the problem with me. You know, so I moved to New Zealand, and like, you know, it was a good year and a half before I met my current husband, and the rest is history. We've been in business together for 25 years, so 20 years.
So the best decision to move to New Zealand.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you know, I believe in the universe. I believe that, you know, there's a higher power consistently working in our lives, whether we choose to call it God, whether we choose to call it like the universe, whatever you choose to call it. And I believe that everything that happens to us is happening for our greater good, even if you don't know it at the time. Okay. Yeah, like, I mean, if those series of events hadn't have happened, I probably wouldn't have moved to New Zealand. Yeah. You know, so it's like, so that's the start of the journey anyway. But I mean, if you can imagine a 24-year-old girl who'd lost absolutely not only her business, lost her family, lost everything that she knew to be real, or what she thought was real in life.
That must have been very hard. That must have been very hard. And seeing that you lost your father, and then, you know, then your family also, you have all these differences. That must have been very hard. Where did you even start from, like in New Zealand? Did you know anyone?
No, a couple of people I met online. So that was all. It was like, just, you know, I'd been smart enough to arrange